Mythical Murmurs presents A Lion's Luck, written by EmeraldFalcon, read to you by Phoenix Slytherin. Description: during his 4th year at Hogwarts, everyone turns against him, and Harry can't cope with the strain of the tournament and classes. Add to the fact that the Gryffindors and Hufflepuffs have taken it upon themselves to teach Harry a lesson. Harry comes across a few unlikely allies. Chapter 1. Dragons. How was he supposed to fight a dragon? He was scared and frustrated. This was too much for him to handle. He didn't understand how he had gotten dragged into all of this. He didn't want the fame or the money, and now everyone either avoided him or attacked him every chance they got. The Hufflepuffs were brutal. One had even clipped him with a tripping jinx earlier. His ankle still stung from where he stumbled down the steps. Professor Moody had pulled him off to the side and had told him to focus on what he was good at. The only thing he could think of was flying. But could he outfly a dragon? He laid flat against the broom, speeding around the corner and weaving between scoring hoops. It was one of the few things that he found true enjoyment in. Not even Quidditch could compare to simply flying. He twisted and dove, spinning his broom in mid-air so he hung on by nothing but his knees, before sliding from the dive to a loop.
"Potter, what are you doing out here? You know you can't be on the pitch alone."
Harry yelped and fumbled his grip on the broom before coming to an abrupt stop. He looked down to see Flint standing below, his arms crossed. "Flint? What are you doing here?"
The older boy scoffed. "I don't have to explain myself to you, Potter. I'm the captain of my team. What are you doing out here? Get down now."
The Gryffindor frowned at the order, but finally let himself lower to the ground and land, leaning to his left side to not bother his ankle too much. "Just practicing some."
"Why? There's no Quidditch this year. Granted, I know most teams are still training, but you have far more important things to do this year,"
the other snarked back. Harry glared at him. "I don't have to explain myself to you either. You're not my captain." Flint's eye twitched, and he fisted his hands.
"Potter, don't push your luck. Why were you out here alone?"
The younger moved past him towards the lockers room. "I was just getting some flying in. I didn't hurt myself." The other followed him into the locker room and promptly grabbed the other, pushing him against the wall.
"Potter, you're really starting to piss me off. It's dangerous to fly solo. Now talk."
Green eyes widened and he flinched, curling in on himself. His eyes screwed shut as he prepared himself to get hit. "I'm sorry." He was waiting for the pain, and he wasn't sure how long passed before he risked a glance at the Slytherin. Flint was looking at him, his brow knitted together in concern.
"I wasn't going to hit you. Hey, it's all right."
The other let him go and looked around before hesitantly wrapping an arm around the younger teen and pulling him to his chest.
"Just don't tell anyone."
He wasn't the comforting kind, and the awkward one-arm hug was stiff. Harry was startled at first, but soon the warmth and strength of the other had him curling close. No one had comforted him in so long, and with everything that had been happening lately, the flood of emotions hit him. "Dragons. The first task is dragons, and I don't know what to do. I never wanted to be in this stupid tournament. I'm scared, and no one believes me." His voice broke as he sobbed, and his broom hit the floor, his hands fisting in the front of the other's robes. "My entire house hates me, and the Hufflepuffs have been attacking me. Malfoy and his stupid friends won't stop." The older teen sighed and wrapped a second arm around the younger and gripped tightly. "I know you didn't enter the tournament. Most of the older Slytherins believe you, and the ones that don't honestly just don't care. I believe you." He grumbled and rubbed a hand up and down the other's spine. He felt like he was going to break the other. He was so much smaller. He felt like an uncoordinated oaf. "Look, you just need to ignore everyone. I know it can be hard, but you're going to have to learn to deal with it. Show them it doesn't get to you. As for the dragons, are you fighting it or something else?" "Retrieving something from under their nest."
Nesting dragons? Have they lost their damn minds? Shit!
Harry snorted lightly at the cuss word.
Oh, you think that's funny, do you, little lion?
He pulled back and sat down on a bench, pulling the other to sit with him.
I'm guessing you're going to use your broom and get to the nest and evade the dragon. Smart idea, but how are you going to use it?
The younger sighed. I've been practicing the summoning charm. I thought if I put my broom next to an open window, I can summon it to me. Flint tilted his head.
That would work, but you will have to delay the dragon while your broom travels to you. What is your plan to distract it?
Run and hide? The older winced.
I mean, it is not a bad idea. What made you think of flying?
Harry shrugged. Someone mentioned I should stick to what I'm good at.
Well, you're a damn good flyer, but you're also good at defense.
He nodded. True, but I don't know a lot of spells that would work against a dragon. I wish I could just talk to it, convince it to just give me the egg. But if I use Parseltongue with the press there... Flint stared at him a moment in confusion, before his eyes slowly widened.
You mean Malfoy was telling the truth? You are a Parseltongue? I mean, I don't know much about dragons, but it might be worth a try. Who knows?
Harry looked at him. Why are you doing this? Talking to me and being nice.
Am I being nice? Well, I suppose I could hex you if you prefer.
He grinned, though, and Harry scoffed before he spoke again.
Don't worry, little lion. I think you've gone through enough today. Look, not all of us Slytherins are terrible.
You tried to knock me off my broom.
I'm competitive, and I have issues with my temper. I've been getting better at it. Look, do you want my help or not?
The Gryffindor looked at him before sighing and nodded. Okay, but call me Harry. Every time I hear Potter, I want to hex the person who says it. The booming laugh had him startled a bit before he joined the other in a fragile relationship that they were starting to build. Flint groaned as he collapsed onto the large bed, the green duvet cool and unslept. He looked up as his two friends joined him.
Hey.
The younger of the two waved. Enjoying my bed, Marcus? Oh, come on, Terrence. You're the only one of us with your own room. The third of the group commented, before looking at Marcus Flint. What's up with you? You seem tense. Marcus nodded.
Yeah, I just had a really off encounter with a lost little lion.
Terrence snorted. Which one? Adrian, take off your shoes if you're going to be on my bed too. The other grumbled and kicked them off before flopping half on top of Marcus. Dude, why are you even around one of those idiots? Marcus grunted and wrapped an arm around the other and shrugged.
Found him flying at the pitch doing some crazy shit. Confronted him. He was acting really strange too. At one point, he flinched away like I was going to hit him.
You do have a temper, Marcus, the younger stated, and joined the other two in the bed in a snake pile.
Yes, but I wouldn't just hit someone without a reason. It was just odd. Oh, Adrian, do dragons understand Parseltongue?
Adrian blinked and tilted his head. That's an odd question. There's documentation in Asia and India of dragons understanding it, but it's normally the more serpentine-based. Worth exploring, anyway. Marcus shrugged.
Yes.
So, who was this little lion you found? Going to give us a name? Terrence asked, as he stretched out with a yawn.
Nah, I think I want to keep him to myself a little bit longer.
Poor thing. Adrian laughed before yelping at the pillow that came at his head. The next day, Harry was once again at the pitch, but this time he was joined by the older Slytherin. The two perched on their brooms, talking softly about the strategy Harry would use.
I talked to a friend. He's good with creatures and things. Some dragons can understand Parseltongue, but not all. A dragon who is more serpentine or eastern dragons. Western dragons may get the gist of what you say, but it's unproven.
Harry nodded and leaned back on his broom. So I should use the first? Summon my broom, then use the time to maybe talk to the dragon? Maybe he can at least draw its attention. If that doesn't work, then hopefully enough time will pass for my broom to reach me.
It's worth a shot. Today I want you to work on your evasion tactics. You're going to fly around. I will chase you and fling spells at you.
The Gryffindor winced. Are you sure you're not trying to kill me?
If I wanted to kill you, Potter, you would already be dead.
I thought I told you to call me Harry.
I'll call you Harry when you can dodge my spells and not fall off your broom.
The two were off, Harry weaving and dodging as spells were tossed at him. He hissed in pain when a stinging hex clipped his shoulder and had to barrel roll to the right from a gout of flame from the other's wand. He swore the other was trying to kill him. He did notice that there were a couple of people watching from a distance, but at this height, it would be hard to tell who they were. It felt like hours before Harry finally touched down on the ground and collapsed onto his back, breathing heavily. You are a demon. Marcus laughed and sat next to him, also breathing hard.
You're fine. Well done, Harry. I think you will do well.
The younger one blushed and looked away. Thanks. He wasn't used to being told he did well. People didn't often praise him. Marcus looked at him oddly.
One would think you aren't used to praise.
I'm not. The Slytherin fell quiet, looking at the younger Gryffindor oddly. He was not the golden boy everyone portrayed him as. He wondered just how different the real Harry was. Only time would tell. Maybe he could take this year to get to know the younger. Couldn't hurt. Harry took a deep breath as he stood in the tent with the other three contestants. They had just been told that they would be doing officially. No different than what they had already been told secretly. He was pacing and waiting for Mr. Bagman to come back with the bag that they would draw lots from. He was praying he got a dragon that understood Parseltongue.
Harry.
The whisperer had him looking up, and he smiled, seeing Marcus at the tent edge. He walked over. What are you doing here? You're going to get in trouble. The other just shrugged.
Don't worry about it. Here, a good luck charm.
He held out a leather cord with a strange black stone, a rune etched on its surface. Harry took it carefully. Marcus, why? Don't you need it? Marcus snorted.
Just wear it, Harry.
Here, give it to me. He yanked it back before maneuvering the other till he was standing with his back to the taller.
Don't question me, and just don't take it off, all right?
He tied the necklace on him and let it settle, before nodding at his handiwork.
There. I'll be watching from the stands. Be careful. Don't do anything stupid. I know it will be difficult for you, but try.
He rolled his green eyes at the other, just grinned before ducking out of the tent, just as Bagman entered in and called them around. Harry stepped over and waited till the others drew their dragons. Bagman nodded. Fleur, common Welsh green. Cedric, Swedish short snout. Crumb, Hungarian horntail. That would mean, Mr. Potter, you have the Chinese fireball. Harry released a small breath and held up the small dragon figurine. It was beautiful, with bright red scales and golden wings and a mane. He stepped off to the side and petted it gently. It was a true animated version of the dragon. Hello, little one. The small figurine looked up and tilted its head to the side before snorting a small puff of fire. He laughed and tucked it into his pocket. Maybe the little dragon would like to use his snitch for a hoard. He certainly wasn't giving it back. He waited until his turn, then stepped out into the arena. The crowd was loud, most of them booing loudly and laughing at him. He waited for the blaring sound to start and immediately raised his wand. Accio Firebolt, then rolled to the side as a gout of flame was shot at him. He hid behind the boulder, looking around, and saw the large dragon guarding its nest. Easily over 20 feet in length, it guarded the bright scarlet eggs in the nest. He took a few deep breaths before pointing at his throat. Sonorous. The wand tip glowed, and he stepped out from behind the boulder. The yellow eyes narrowed at him instantly. Regal mother, please wait. The dragon reared back and hissed back, but it was too garbled for him to make out. She seemed to hunker down and stare at him. The entire crowd went dead silent. And slowly, Harry took a step forward and lifted both his hands, showing his wand to her on full view. "Please, dear mother, I am not here to harm you or your eggs." The deep guttural growl and another hiss. "Speaker." He smiled softly and nodded. "Yes, I am a speaker. Please, I implore you just to listen." She snorted and smoke curled from her nose, but carefully she seemed to understand him, though it was clear it wasn't a language she used often, like trying to speak it with a heavy accent. "Speak, hatling." Harry closed his eyes and slowly sat his wand on the ground, ignoring the cries of outrage, and he took another step forward, palms up. "The ones who brought you and your nest here, they hid something within it, a fake egg of gold. We were tasked to retrieve it for the entertainment of others." He spoke slowly, waiting for her to grasp what he had said, even repeating it to make sure she got it. "Revered mother, I do not wish to harm you or your eggs, but I have been tasked to get the false egg." A large snout whirled on the nest, and she gave a deep, resonating sound as she began to sniff at her nest. Finding the golden egg quickly, she nosed it from the nest in front of her. "Nasty egg. False. Wrong." The words came strong now as she used the language. He nodded. "Yes, that is the egg. May I take it?" The dragon seemed to think a moment before giving a vicious grin and settling down with a golden egg between her claws. "Come, take it, hatchling." Harry shivered before looking around. His broom still hadn't shone, and his wand was now behind him. He looked around and saw the tamers were closer than they were before. The crowd was dead silent, watching the exchange with bated breath. He took a few steps forward, watching the dragon, but she did not seem to move. Was this a test? Finally, he made it the last few steps and stood between her claws. The heat wafted off her scales made him sweat as he reached down and picked up the egg carefully. A claw raised and nudged his side, causing him to stumble to the side. "Thin, brave thing. Smell no mother." Harry shook his head. "I have no mother or father. They are dead." She huffed flame, licking at her scales. She nudged him again, and this time he did fall, right into her forearm. He froze as she lowered her snout down and sniffed at him, her sharp teeth flashing dangerously. "A boon for you, little lost hatchling." She raised her claw and scratched at a dull patch of scales, and shook her large head as a few scales and fine hair falling to the ground. "Take, brave hatchling. Take and go." The Gryffindor stared in wonder and slowly stepped forward, taking the soft mane hairs and a few priceless scales. With the egg, he bowed to her. "Thank you, honored mother. I will remember your kindness." Then quickly turned away and bolted to the entrance, snagging his wand on the way out, ignoring the deep rumbling laugh that followed him on the way out. The thunderous roar as the end of his round was sounded, and people screaming at how unfair. He nearly ran into Crumb as he turned into the tent. The large man looked down at him curiously. "You are snake speaker? Interesting. Is good ability. Well done, Potter." Harry nodded to him before retreating to his corner. He wanted the ground to swallow him up. Now to find out where the hell his broom was. Chapter 2. Harry groaned as he sank into the hot water, feeling his muscles slowly relaxing. He simply wanted the heat to engulf him and never let him go. At that point, he almost wished he could move into the Chamber of Secrets. Living in the Gryffindor Tower had become a nightmare. His classmates had even gone as far as to prank his bed, making sleep nearly impossible. Despite his denials, they still believed he had lied and entered his name into the Goblet of Fire. On top of that, there was a news article claiming he'd been seen with Marcus Flint and using Parseltongue during the tournament. They saw him as some evil spawn, going dark. Ron had punched him so hard he still felt it days later. He had gone to Pomfrey and the woman had just tutted and sent him on his way, telling him not to antagonize his friends. He hadn't done anything. He looked at the golden egg perched on a towel. It was the bane of his existence right now. He hated the damn thing. He hated everything about this damn tournament. What made everything worse was the announcement of the old ball. He didn't know how to dance, and he had not only to find a partner, but dance in front of the entire school. He was going to embarrass himself. He rubbed a hand down over his face and ducked under the water before coming up and slicking his hair back. The sound of the door opening had him turning quickly and sinking into the bubbles, hiding himself mostly from view. Then his eyes widened and Marcus stepped in carrying a bag and towel. Marcus? The older male looked over and grinned. Harry, how did you get in here? Harry shrugged. Cedric gave me the password. I told him about the dragons, so I guess this is his way of paying off the debt? Marcus nodded and set his things down on the chair. Mind if I join you? I smell like potion fumes. Sure. Then looked away and gave the other boy privacy as he stripped and got into the water. He had showered with the others in his dorm and on the team, so sharing a bath wasn't any more intimate. Hecate, this feels nice. You picked a good scent. The older male leaned back and stretched his muscular arms across the lip, leaning back and closing his eyes. Good job with the dragon, by the way. My friends and I were impressed. It looked like it wouldn't work at first, and your broom never showed. He nodded. Yeah, her speech was slurred and accented. It took a while for us to find that common sound. I felt like she was testing me when she told me to come take the egg. I was terrified, but I wasn't about to give up. As for my broom, someone knocked it over and shut the window. I'll be honest, I would have run for my life. It smiled at you and I wanted to pass out. How those idiot Gryffindors still think you entered on purpose is beyond me. What idiots. Speaking of, how's your eye? Harry rubbed at it. Fine, not as bad as the bee sting jinx someone threw at me. Harry, you can go to a professor or the headmaster. I went to Pomfrey, but she didn't even heal my eye or give me anything. Just told me not to antagonize them and sent me on my way. Dumbledore won't even meet my eyes these days, and McGonagall is more concerned with finding me a date to the Yule Ball. I gave up trying to tell them anything years ago. Marcus peered at him. Why is that? Harry wasn't sure what came over him, but he just started launching into everything that had happened over the past 3 years, telling the older about how many times he'd gone to professors, only to be ignored and pushed aside. When he reached the end of his tale, he looked over to see the other staring at him in a mix of horror and something else. Merlin, your life hasn't been an easy one here. I heard rumors, but I don't put much faith in them. The younger snorted. Well, I don't put much faith in the professors. I wouldn't either. Most of them ignore us Slytherins, or just think we're up to no good. I know most of them think I'm stupid, because I got held back a year and all. Being smart isn't everything. You're great at Quidditch. Marcus nodded. I like flying, and yes, I let my grades slip. But it isn't that I'm stupid. I just don't pick up things as quickly as others. I have to work harder to remember things. Harry smiled. That's all right. I'm not that good of a reader. The words just get blurry for me, and it hurts my eyes to read a lot.
When was the last time you got your eyes checked?
He shrugged, not answering the question, then groaned, remembering the whole reason he came here. I guess I might as well figure it out. He waded over and reached for the egg, sitting next to Marcus. Cedric said to take a bath with it, helped him find out the clue. Marcus snorted and rolled his eyes.
He would take a bath with a sparkly egg. Such a Hufflepuff. What does it do when you open it?
Though he kept it to himself, he was a bit pissed. Harry had told that Puff about the dragon and all he got was to take a bath with it? How dumb was that shit? Harry gave him a look that clearly said he didn't want to show him, but mumbled something. Cover your ears. Then opened the egg. The shrieking cries filled the bath, and Harry went to cover his ears on reflex, the egg falling into the water. The shrieks abruptly ended. Fuck that, Marcus snarled and dove under to grab the cursed thing, and froze. His face screwing up and he surfaced. Come under with me. Harry looked at him oddly and submerged, and the two were surrounded by a sweet melodic song. Come seek us where our voices sound. We cannot sing above the ground. And while you're searching, ponder this. We've taken what you'll sorely miss. An hour long you'll have to look and recover what we took. But past an hour, the prospect's black. Too late, it's gone. It won't come back. He grabbed the egg and closed it before surfacing. So water is the main clue. Marcus nodded and leaned back.
Good luck. I'm not good at riddles. I mean, some are obvious. An hour, something taken.
Harry frowned and set the egg back on the towels inside. So most likely the lake. Merfolk, something will be taken and hidden in the lake. We have an hour to get it, or else what? Will we lose it forever? There were many things he didn't want to go missing. What if they took his cloak? He shuddered and then paled. I can't swim. The older looked at him oddly.
You can't swim? Surely you went to the beach or pools when you were younger.
No, my relatives were never really into taking me on family vacations. So I never really learned.
This isn't the first time you mentioned them. You and your relatives fight a lot.
Harry shrugged. Nothing like that. They're muggles, so we don't always see eye to eye. He climbed out of the bath and wrapped a towel around his waist. Thanks for your help, Marcus. I should head back to my dorm before curfew. Enjoy the rest of your bath.
Wait, Harry.
He moved to get out of the tub, but the Gryffindor was fast as he slipped out the first door into the waiting area. Marcus snarled and slapped the water before falling back against the edge of the bath. Tomorrow he would find his little lion and offer to help teach him how to swim. It was worth a try. He had other plans as well, but he knew he had to take it slow. He had a good head start. Marcus finished up and got dressed before heading straight to Terrence's room, and didn't even knock before entering. He turned and recoiled. Fuck, really? Terrence grumbled and slid to the side of Adrian's lap. It's my room, Marcus. You're the one who just barged in. Adrian just grinned and tried to drag his boyfriend back into his lap. Ignore him, Ter. Focus on me. Keep it in your pants, Adrian. I'm not an expeditionist. He attempted to discreetly adjust himself before looking at his friend. You all right there? You look pissed. Marcus scowled and flopped into a chair.
The little lion I've been speaking to. His life has been a nightmare here. The professors treat him worse than they treat us. They wouldn't even help him with the bullying he's going through.
Adrian frowned. This is Potter, right? The lion you're seeing? It can't be that bad. I mean, the teachers clearly favor him. Well, except Snape. Marcus scoffed.
You would think that, but from what I've been told tonight, that's all a lie too. Harry has been given a shit draw. He went to Pomfrey about his black eye, and she didn't even give him a solve for it.
Terrence grumbled and got up, walking over to his things and pulling out a solve and tossing it over. Give him this. It'll work on most bruises and abrasions. If it is anything more serious, bring him to me.
The captain caught it and stuck it in his pocket. Thanks, Ter. I really think you two will like him. I'm not saying to go out of your way or anything, but just meet him for yourself. He is a bit prickly, but I don't blame him.
Adrian rolled his eyes. We will keep an eye out for your little crush. Don't worry. And dodged a stinging axe. Hey, I was joking! Harry stretched as he got out of bed and yawned. It was earlier than he normally got up, but lately he'd been wanting to get to breakfast early. Today was no different. He went to his trunk and opened it, only to shriek when something flung itself from his trunk and splashed across his face. The scalding hot liquid sank into his flesh and he hit the floor screaming. It felt like his face was erupting and bubbling. Then the pain was gone and he panted, trying to reorient himself. Shut up, Potter, we're trying to sleep. Harry said nothing and quickly grabbed his clothes and ran for the bathroom to look in the mirror. His skin was bright red as if he got sunburned. It hurt to touch and some spots were sore or itchy. The water stung, but he got through it before putting on his clothes over the sore skin and headed to the Great Hall. He was one of the first students there, as it was the weekend. Only the Ravenclaws appeared to be out in abundance at their table like a flock of birds. A few older Gryffindors in other houses were about as well. A few teachers sat at the head of the table, and some of the visiting students. All in all, the hall was pretty much empty compared to the feast night before. He walked to the end of the Gryffindor table to sit. The less he had to deal with people, the better right now. The burns along his skin itched and throbbed lightly as he ate a small breakfast.
Harry.
He jumped and turned, dropping the spoon back into the bowl as Marcus came marching over to him. He glanced around and saw that some were already looking their way, especially those from Slytherin. Marcus, is everything all right? Marcus nodded and sat next to him.
The school already knows we're on speaking terms. I don't care if they wish to talk more.
Harry shrugged at the explanation. How was your night?
It was fine. Not yours, apparently. How'd you get a sunburn?
Someone spilled my trunk. I set it off this morning. The older wizard growled darkly and pulled a container out of his pocket.
Here, this will work on most bruises and minor injuries. It should help with the sunburn as well. I will be adding security charms to our meetings, so they can't prank your things anymore.
Harry took the salve and smiled. Thank you. Marcus shrugged.
So, you left last night before I could ask you something.
The Gryffindor blinked and he looked at Marcus. Sorry, I get uncomfortable when talking about my family. Marcus gave him a rare smile.
I understand, though I think my father would enjoy your company as much as I do. Look, would you mind standing? I want to do this properly.
Green Eyes blinked, and he stood up from his spot at the table as he watched as Marcus stood and then knelt. Harry glanced around as the soft drum of talking ceased. Marcus? The Slytherin cleared his throat and then reached into his pocket to remove a small velvet black case. Carefully, Marcus opened it to reveal a simple silver chain attached to a silver pocket watch with gentle designs carved into the surface plate to resemble vine work. A few gems of emerald and agate were catch the light as he presented it properly.
Herr Potter, would you do me the honor of allowing me to escort you to the Yule Ball?
Harry's breath caught, and he could feel his cheeks heat up. He was being asked to the Yule Ball by Marcus. He tried to think of a good way to answer. He wasn't good at pureblood ethics. I would be honored to have you as my escort, Herr Flint. Oh, he hoped he said that right. The older boy grinned brightly and stood.
I'm honored. Please allow me to put this on you.
When he got a nod, he carefully removed the silver pocket watch.
It is customary for an heir to have a pocket watch made by their parents. I decided to continue the tradition in their stead. The gems are agate for protection against dreams, and the emeralds are for new beginnings and truth. He attached the watch to the other's pocket and tucked it in. I hope it serves you well, Harry.
Thank you, Marcus. It is lovely. The elder gave a rare smile before clearing his throat.
I hope to see you later in the Quidditch pitch. Till then.
He gave a polite bow and swept out of the hall, leaving the Gryffindor to his jumbled thoughts. Chapter 3. Harry took a deep breath as he got ready to meet Marcus at the Quidditch pitch. It had been the regular meetup point now, even for practicing spells. Not many went out there now that there was no Quidditch. It had enough room for them to practice spells without damaging anything around them, and the weather, though chilly, was still holding its own. He checked himself in the mirror one more time before ducking out of the boys' dorms and into the common room. Luckily, it was Saturday morning, and not many were roused yet, and those that were had places to go, so slipping out of the common room was a simple thing. He was halfway to the pitch when he felt the tripping hex and fell flat on his face. A sibilant hiss leaving his lips, and he looked around only to see a set of robes ducking around the corner. He couldn't tell who it was or the house. He was really starting to get pissed off with all the pranks and bullying. He had thought Hogwarts was better than that, for the most part. He brushed himself off and adjusted his robes when a gentle hand landed on his shoulder. He whirled to stare into the large brown eyes of another one of the older Slytherins. The teen held up his hands quickly. Easy, Potter. I was just seeing if you all right. Those two threw a pretty powerful tripping jinx. Are you hurt anywhere? Harry tried to place the older wizard before it clicked. Herr Montague? He really hoped he was correct. The Slytherin nodded. Indeed. You may call me Montague. Flint talks about you to us on occasion. Says you're all right when not surrounded by that group of yours. He flushed and turned away. Not much of a group. Just me these days. Yeah, I noticed that too. Look, you should tell your professor that someone is tossing jinx at you. They can take care of it. Harry shrugged. Don't see the point. It won't stop. Thanks for checking on me. Not a problem. Where are you headed? I'll escort you. The elder asked as he extended his arm for the other to take. Green Eyes glanced at it, and he wasn't sure what to do. When he set his hand on the other's elbow, the other simply adjusted his hand till it rested properly in the crook of his arm. Quidditch pitch? To meet Marcus. Ah, yes, he mentioned he was heading there. He still has his running drills every Tuesday evening and Saturday morning. Brutal. But he is a good captain. Harry laughed. Well, he would have to be to put up with Malfoy. Then quickly looked away. I'm sorry, that was rude. He is your teammate. The other gave a soft chuckle before his face schooled into a flawless mask. Don't worry about it. Most of the team hates him, or at least finds him highly annoying. He nodded and looked around as he was escorted out the main doors. He saw a few early risers whispering and watching, but for some reason Harry couldn't bring himself to care. They would talk about him even if he wasn't walking arm in arm with a Slytherin. At least this way, he was likely to get a stunner or some jinx tossed in his direction. You're a chaser, right? My dad played chaser. I've always wanted to try other positions. The older wizard nodded. You got the build to be a chaser, but I don't think you could cut it as a beater. Those guys are brutes, all that muscle. Then he looked at Harry. You could be a keeper too, but they tend to be more lanky. Easy for them to stretch out and block goals. Harry snorted. I know I'm short. Montague shrugged. So what, you're short? My cousin was always short, and he hit his 7th year and shot up like a 1.5 feet. Not everyone becomes a hulking brute from the beginning. The Gryffindor laughed brightly. Yeah, you're right. He walked with the other as a calming silence fell over them till they were in the Quidditch pitch. Marcus came jogging over, already in a loose pair of training robes. Graham, what are you doing all the way out here? Harry was about to answer, but stopped at the soft pat to his elbow. Just escorting Potter here. Some students tried to jinx him this morning, and I made it my duty to escort him safely to your hands. Green Eyes rolled at the dramatic words. It was a tripping jinx, and I was fine, but I am grateful for the company. Marcus scowled darkly. Did you recognize who did it? Maybe I should start picking you up at the Gryffindor Tower. Harry shook his head. I didn't catch who it was, and you don't have to do that. It wasn't bad. He removed his arm from the crook of the other's elbow. The chill felt more strongly now that he wasn't pressed so close to the larger Slytherin, who felt like his own radiator. Montague shrugged. I don't mind escorting him about if you can't meet him. As for if it is necessary, well, I will follow my captain's lead, Harry. He is right. What they're doing is wrong. I know I have no room to talk. I have sent a few spells out myself, and I know Slytherins give as good as they get. But you are a Hogwarts champion. You should be treated with respect. I'm not the champion. Diggory is. I just got lumped in because I have bad luck. Marcus snorted. Your luck sucks. Harry grinned. And I got the lion's share. Montague groaned. No, I can't take puns this early in the morning. I'm going to the library and then to breakfast. Try not to skip it. Then patted Harry on the head before nodding to Marcus and walking off to the pitch. The Gryffindor quickly tried to fix the messed up hair. I was wondering why we were out here so early. Marcus grinned. It is good to get some training in before breakfast. It keeps your mind sharp. No, we were working on shield charms. So show me your best shielding charm. The younger sighed, knowing he wasn't getting out of this that easily. Harry collapsed into a chair at the Gryffindor table, with a wince. His backside was killing him. Marcus was brutal at training and didn't hold back, so his arse meeting the grass happened more times than it didn't. But now he could cast several shield charms and quicker. He looked around at the food and made himself a quick meal before digging in hungrily. He loved the food at Hogwarts. The elves always knew how to cook the best meals, and his favorites were always seen at the table. Though he guessed everyone's favorites usually ended up at the table. Once he was sure he couldn't eat anymore, he stood and headed straight for the library. He wanted to look up a few more spells to see if there was anything else that could help him breathe underwater. The bubblehead charm was fine, but it never hurt to have a backup plan. Most wouldn't even consider him going to the library. He wasn't exactly the most studious of people. This was life or death, though, and he really wanted to keep living. So with a determination to live, he buried himself in the large tomes the library had to offer, mostly focusing on charms and defensive spells. He knew there was a partial transfiguration, but that was well past his area of expertise. Studying hard? Harry jumped and nearly dropped the book he had been reading as he looked up to see Marcus hovering over him like a great bird of prey. Oh, yeah, I was looking for anything I could use for the task. I know Bubblehead Charm works, but I wanted a backup plan. I also wanted to know if there were specific spells that I leaned more towards water-based creatures. Marcus nodded and sat next to him at the table. Well, there are alternatives to the Bubblehead Charm. You could try plant or potion. It can brew them. But you still have to teach yourself how to swim. Spells, though, you're looking at wordless ones. Have you ever cast a wordless spell? No, I didn't know you could. Well, outside accident magic. Marcus nodded. Magic can be cast normally, wandless, or wordlessly, or both. Harry frowned. Does it have a trick to it? Marcus nodded and looked through the books. We should start the first year spells. Then we can work our way up from there. What is your strongest spell? Green Eyes narrowed as he thought. Patronus, I think. You can cast a Patronus? How large is your mist? No mist. Corporeal. It's a stag. Marcus stared at the younger wizard in shock. He wasn't sure why he was shocked. This was Harry Potter. That's impressive. So let's start with some first-year spells. We should probably find an empty classroom or go back to the pitch. Let's check out the few books you want and head out. Harry picked up the couple that had seemed to be the most promising and watched as Marcus flicked his wand, and the other books filed themselves away back to their spots on the shelves. Taking his arm out, he let himself be led to the checkout and then out the door and down a few halls. It was mostly quiet with the weekenders trying to enjoy the last rays of sunshine and nice weather before the snow hit. Being taken around by the arm was almost soothing. It gave him a sense of peace and safety that he had not really experienced over the years.
So, what color of robes are you thinking of wearing to the ball?
Marcus asked softly.
I tend to wear my family colors, but I do not wish to clash with your choice.
The younger thought for a moment. Oh, the seamstress did them in dark green. She said the color made my eyes pop.
Green would suit you. Any accessories?
Harry shrugged. I've never really done a formal engagement. I don't even know how to dance. Marcus grinned.
You leave that to me then. I want your Yule Ball to be the best. I want them all to look at you and regret ever treating you with any cruelty.
Why do you sound like you're creating a battle plan?
Oh, because I am. Trust me, Harry. By the time the Yule Ball ends, everyone will regret that they have done. I will have the most handsome and intriguing man at the ball, and they can all go fuck themselves.
Harry laughed softly. Then I will leave it to you.
Excellent. Trust in me, Harry. I will never leave you astray.
The rest of the day was a blur of activity. Learning wordless spells took a lot more energy than casting them normally. But by the time dinner rolled around, he was already casting most of the first grade charms wordlessly. He wanted to try wandless, but he also knew rushing was not always a good thing. He stretched away some of the kinks from sitting so long. Back to the crowds and words. Marcus nodded.
You could just come sit with me. There's no rule saying you must sit with your house for meals. You can meet my friends.
I would really like that.
The Slytherin grinned. Perfect. Trust me.
They were words that Harry would learn to trust in the other. Taking comfort in the presence of someone who was actually proving to give a shit about him. They were just about to the Slytherin table when a hex clipped his shoulder. A searing pain and blistering sensation, and he stumbled some. Marcus released his arm and turned his face, twisting darkly.
Who the fuck threw that?
He stomped over toward the Gryffindor table to Ron, who still had his wand out.
You think that's funny, Weasley? Throwing a hex at an unarmed back of another student? I should have you running laps till you puke.
He grabbed the younger by the front of his robe and hauled him up, his free hand pulling back to punch the now frightened face of the other student. Flint, that's enough. You're going to get yourself in trouble for starting a fight. A calm hand of Higgs settled on his shoulder. Marcus snarled and pulled his shoulder from the other's grips, but didn't punch the redhead. Instead, he shoved him away.
Watch yourself, Weasley.
He turned to his best friend.
Can you check on Harry, please? The hex was red.
No sooner had he spoken than Weasley went to punch the older Slytherin. Stupid snake! The elder dodged and turned long enough to slam his fist into the redhead's face, listening to the satisfying crunch of a nose going and the cry of pain from the younger student.
That was self-defense.
Leaving a bleeding Ron to tend to a startled Harry.